Hello, welcome to Hack 5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
My name is Shannon Morse.
It's your weekly dose of Technolust.
Welcome to this awesome episode of Hack 5. I'm super excited.
Me too. This is a really exciting one because as we are following up from last week's episode from ShmooCon talking about analyzing signals from infrared and doing a lot of new interesting security research in that field, we get to talk to Woody, who is the catalyst for a lot of this new interesting discussion.
Yes, he found some interesting discoveries, so I am super excited to talk to him about it.
What I really like about this is I feel like it's a great example of kind of that journey in the security research of like discovering something and testing and the methodologies of things that worked that didn't work.
That's an amazing point. Yeah, you totally hit it right on the head.
And it also perfectly, kind of illustrates how the support of the community, when somebody finds something and is like, hey, I say, and then other people will be like, oh, well, can you, let me see if I can peer review this. Let me see if I can, kind of like recreate that on my end. And then like, how have you tried this? Have you tried that? And then next thing you know, you have created like, well, in this case, an interesting tool set. So yeah, cool stuff ahead.
Yeah, so I say we get right into it with Woody and his interesting discoveries.
We're back from ShmooCon, where we had an awesome opportunity to find out about the exciting new world of doing security research with infrared, and here to find out how that all came to be as there's all sorts of new invigorated interest. Woody, how's it going, man?
Good.
Thanks for joining us in studio. This is so great.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to talk to you about this story as you were kind of a catalyst of this new era of security research with infrared, which has been around for a long time, and now suddenly there's a resurgence in interest. So please, like, explain to me this story. How did this project come to be?
So I was trying to learn a little bit more about infrared, and I wanted to figure out some ways that I could make my own infrared protocols. So the best way that I could find for an infrared protocol was Arduino. So I started playing with Arduino a little bit, and I have a couple of remote controls, and I'm trying to make them talk so I can make my own code. So use your remote to do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. However, sometimes music comes on that you just don't want to listen to. So I would hit the next on my phone. When I did that, what I was using was this, it's called a Littlebit.
Okay. Oh, this is like one of those dev boards where it's like, made to be a simple intro into electronics.
Yeah, a little kid's program, but what was nice is it has an infrared detector, and that's all I want to do. I want to see how far away could I start getting with this and make it actually work.
And so the idea was that this would just receive an infrared signal and then, turn on an LED.
Absolutely. So
cool beginner project.
If you use a remote, you can start figuring out how far away that remote will actually trigger this. I was like, oh, that works pretty neat. However, every time my phone would go off, or a song would come on that I didn't like, I'd hit next on my phone, the screen would come on. It was an S4 at the time. Interestingly enough,
whoa, hey.
light starts coming on and off. Now this isn't an S4, this is actually a Nexus. But I was like, well, that's odd. I have a drone, like everyone should. It had a nice low-lux camera on it.
Oh, I see where this is going.
It was the only extra camera I had at the time because I was looking at my phone, which had the other IR filter. So I take the drone, I set it on top of my phone, turn the screen on, start watching the camera, and sure enough, I'm seeing lights.
So okay, so I get that, we have this assumption like, oh, okay, so I've got my phone, but I go into airplane mode. My cell radio is off, my Wi-Fi radio is off, my Bluetooth is off. As we know, like playing with pineapples or whatever have you, that these can be tracked really easily, and that there are unique MAC addresses and things of that nature that allow you to profile different devices. What led you to say like, okay, that's cool, I'm gonna take this and now explore more into that and see how possible it is to actually like figure out the uniqueness of the different devices?
20 years DoD. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff I did was helping to look at ways that we could keep people safer by understanding exactly what you're talking about. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all those little emissions that you give off. So in my head, I started thinking, well, this could be unique. Maybe there'd just been a couple major TV manufacturers who had gotten in trouble. Mm-hmm. They'd gotten in trouble because they were offloading people's data from either microphones or passwords and stuff for smart TVs. So I said, well, what if they're trying to offload data through this? So I started analyzing it. I realized I didn't think that was happening. However, I started finding out.
You were looking at it like, oh, this is a method for exfiltration.
Yes. And then I said, wait a minute. this all starts looking really weird, because when I first started looking at this, what do you do with anything that you want to make sure you can kind of see what's going on here? Let's get inside here. If I had a software-defined radio,
Yeah.
how would I break out ones and zeros?
Totally, start sniffing some packets. If you know it's on 433, listen to 433 megahertz. If you know it's Wi-Fi, fire up a Wi-Fi radio and start sniffing.
And since light is wireless too,
There you go.
I ran it through Audacity.
Oh, I love how Audacity is like the poor man's logic analyzer. And
It
we've
is.
used it on the show before where it's like, simple on-off keying stuff where you can just see, the peaks and such. How do you get IR into Audacity?
Well, you have to make a step from this to the next point. So that's what I really did. So I took something as simple as a network extender. That's all this is. This will
What is this? So this is just like what, an IR receiver?
Yep, so you set it up. So I have a really nice case for all my DVRs and my cable box, and I want it to look pretty, so I only want one little IR receiver, and this feeds to all the ones inside of it through cables.
Nice.
So I took this, clipped it.
You're like hacking out your media center?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I see. This is all tied into an Arduino.
Yep, so then I ran this into a jack, figured out the negative, positive, the data port, and
Into like a
basically-
headphone jack.
Yeah, headphone jack. I
Oh.
plugged it into the computer and I ran Audacity.
So you're just getting noise,
Yeah.
but you'll actually see some differences.
Yeah, so I would record it like I would an audio file
Yeah.
and then run it through Audacity because it was just on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off for the most part, while it was analog and digital.
That's
depending on which
fantastic.
one you were pushing.
And so help me to understand why, though. Like, I get that infrared is causing the receiver to see the signal and turn on the LED. I get how the IR receiver here is like picking up the signal and going through the audio jack, and you can see it in Audacity. But what I don't understand is why is there infrared coming from my phone?
So
This isn't a TV remote.
So how do we decide what phone we're going to get? Well, one of the choices we make is power. How long would this last? So inside your phones, if you look at them, you'll find two little lights. Those little lights, when you look at them, well, they're actually just two little dot holes. Those are proximity sensors. Just like when you wash your hands in a bathroom,
Yeah.
just like when you go to certain locations, they use lights to tell how far away you are to tell distance. What that does is it tells how close you are so it can shut the screen off if you're in the middle of a call. In fact, different phones have different protocols, although most of the newer ones are now going to where it's on almost all the time, because if it's in your pocket, they want it completely off. If you
Right.
take it out,
Or if I flip my phone upside down, it will turn off the screen.
yes.
Yeah.
But if you flip it over, it may not open your screen up, but it may show you the time. That all comes down to battery life. Battery life comes down to happy customers. Happy customers comes down to money.
Okay, so for that reason, we have infrared spewing out of our phones.
Yes.
Fantastic. And
It should all be the same.
But you would expect, because I would just imagine you just send out a constant stream of IR, and then you receive it back, and depending on the difference, you can tell the distance between like the person's hand or if they put it up to their head. So is that what you found?
Absolutely not. That's what I expected, and a lot of people told me that. However, I started finding out that if I held up Android versus Apple, I could visually, just running it through Audacity, I could completely tell the difference. Huge difference.
Wait, so right there, you can immediately discern different manufacturers, similar to how you would with the OUI of a MAC address. It's making me be suspicious that that's almost like a unique thing. Surely that's just an iPhone and Android situation.
That's what I thought at first, but fortunately, I have a lot of children, and they all have phones.
Oh, the new world we live in.
Spread out age groups, so they have different models. The hand-me-downs and the new ones for the older ones. So I started looking at the different models of Apples, different models of Android, and borrowing friends' phones, and I started figuring out that even within Android, I could track it out to model, and in Apple, I could do the same.
No way. So you could actually tell, hey, Darren's rocking a Galaxy Note 5, or Shannon is rocking a Nexus 6P.
Definitely the 6P, because I look at those a lot.
Okay.
But yes, and I could look at it. I could figure out if I held two of them up at the same time during capture, I could say, okay, that was the Android, then that was the Apple, then that was the Android again, that was a different Apple.
But surely you wouldn't be able to tell this is my next Galaxy Note 5. You would just be able to tell, oh, it's a Note 5.
It was really hard to do in Audacity. So a good friend of mine who's helped me quite a bit on this project named Craig Hefner. You may know him from Reaver.
Love Craig. He's great.
Yeah, he's a hardware genius.
Yeah.
He said, hey, first off, I think you're chasing unicorns, but I'm going to help you just in case. So he was very kind and patient, and he helped me. It was amazing how much he helped me, him and also Tim Kirster, who helped me with once we started scripting this out, which is eventually where we get. So he said, listen, you need to move this into a logic analyzer. If you really want to be able to start telling true ones and zeros, is there a difference? Is there the ability to start telling more about this? You need to move to a logic analyzer.
Right, because so far you're just using an infrared diode and an audio cable and Audacity. So how does the hardware and the software change here?
I got my first Celia, so I had to learn how to use the logic analyzer.
Explain to me a logic analyzer for those that aren't familiar.
So logic analyzer is going to go ahead and take a signal that comes in. When it looks at that signal, you have two ways that you can read it. You can read analog, which is going to go ahead and show you the strength. If you so you may not peak all the way at 5. You may only get to 2 or 3.
You'll get a nice little sine wave.
Yeah, you'll get some waves or really rough looking waves. Then the one that I have also will do digital. So any signals that reached a high enough threshold, it would automatically give you a high peak. So your ones and your zeros. You can do the same thing with analog, but you also get the strength value of it instead of, hey, this is all the way peaked out or all the way low. You actually get the wave system.
Right, like the difference between amplitude modulation versus on-off keying, similar to what we've done in software-defined radio. This is very much sounding like software-defined radio.
Well, I was watching a lot of Mike's stuff and learning a lot of software-defined radio, so that's what made me think of Audacity and working down this same road. So as I played with this, I started pushing it through a logic analyzer, and I realized that in a logic analyzer I could absolutely look at it and I could see the difference in a phone. And I could see how fast something was moving, but the difference is I could also see the width of how long it was between segments, as well as how long each one of those segments was. When I realized that started becoming unique even in the same make and model, even with the same OS.
Why on earth would, I mean, I understand that there's going to be just a difference in, the IR coming out from various manufacturers because, if you're not just sending out a constant stream, because the infrared signal does require, electricity to send out and to receive. So, there's no sense in just blasting. You might want to just like flicker it. And, different manufacturers may flicker this way or that way, but I'm assuming that the firmware on my Note 5 is the same as most Note 5s. So why would you have, like, say, the infrared equivalent of a unique MAC address per phone? I mean, we can only speculate.
At this point, it is. We're still looking into it, but it's quite odd. That's why at first it took a long time for people to believe me.
And so what's the use case here? I understand, like, okay, cool. Now you can profile a device even if all of it's RF silent, right? So what are the use cases there of profiling devices?
So if I was a nefarious actor and I decided that I was going to put things in your network that offloaded data and information, I would make sure that I had things in place to stop you from detecting them. So if I'm going to do surveillance on what you do, I'm going to set up counter surveillance to figure out when you come looking for me. Now, most people right now use Pwn phones or NetHunter.
As far as pen testing tools on phones are concerned, yeah, absolutely.
So those only run on a handful of model of phones. Those phones typically are not used by the average person either. So there's not a lot of Nexus 6s rolling into the average IBM's corporation. However, if you come in with one of those phones, I can figure out that you have one of those models of phones, or highly likely that you do. It's worth it to keep what I have secret, to fingerprint that and go, hey, put put a sensor in an elevator, put it in a choke point, go, hey, I have a high probability because we're receiving no MAC addresses from a Nexus product or one of the other ones that would be used for NetHunter or Pwn Phone. I'm not receiving any RF signals that would tell me that kind of device is here, whether it's the Bluetooth, whether it's the MAC, other things you can look at. However, I am receiving an IR signal that's saying I've got one of those here. I trip a relay and I shut down all of my offload for, let's say, 48 hours. So while you're doing your pen test, looking for my offload equipment, it all gets shut down. Not even a pen test at that point. You're actually looking for the equipment that would be offloading. And then I still save the data, and once I haven't seen those signals for a while, then I offload it. But I increase my probability of success.
So I understand that you flashed 20 Nexus devices with NetHunter for a gig, and you profiled those, what, say before and after? Is there a difference
Yes.
between the infrared signals that are coming out of, say, a Virgin Nexus phone versus a NetHuntered Nexus phone?
The difference was slight, very slight with what we found. And I was still able to fingerprint those phones even after I took all the phones, I flashed them with the exact same version of NetHunter.
Yeah. And so you would then expect, since they all are running the exact same firmware, that they are all outputting the exact same IR.
Yep. And
Were they?
No. They all were able to be tracked back to where they were originally. Some of them had a very slight variant, but it was enough that they could still be fingerprinted, even with just the spacing that you'll see in the Arduino code we have. If you start looking at it with more definitive tools, the fingerprinting dives even deeper.
Wow. This is really cool. This is really exciting. And I love to see the process of how this evolved from just like, why is there infrared coming out of my phone, to like, when, you know, as we'll get into Iris and how this has turned into like a totally awesome open source project. So I think Shannon's going to come in and we're going to figure out all of that, because I want to know what is the next generation of the hardware development and the software development to get there. And we will do that here in just a minute, so stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick moment to thank our awesome sponsor, Domain.com, which is the place we go to whenever we have brilliant ideas and want to bring them to the web, like applying software-defined radio principles to infrared light. Who would have thought? And what Shannon and I do is we go over to Domain.com because they have a simple domain discovery system that helps you find the right domain just for you, and their simple checkout process gets your website up and online in no time flat. I know I just spinned one up again here recently, and like, boom, DNS is like so quick these days. I love it. So get this, they are huge fans of Hack5, and they want to hook you up with a special coupon code that gets you 20% off. It's a pretty good discount. You can find out by going to Domain.com and using the coupon code HAK5 at checkout. That spells Hack5. And you know what? You can even tweet them and say, thanks guys for supporting Hack5 all these years with the killer work that they do, and we love you and keep it going, and you tweet them at Domain.com. With all of that, we just want to remind you that when you have a great idea, it all starts with a great domain. Domain.com.
I stole Darren's place because I wanted to get on board and talk more about this, and you, I believe you have a demo for me, don't you?
I do. So we're going to start with the kind of where this has come to, and then we're
Okay.
going to show all the steps that have led to it.
Okay, so you have everything set up over here.
I do.
Should I hold this up for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is show how this phone is in the target deck.
Okay.
I've set a target deck up. This phone's not in the target deck, which means
Okay.
you won't see anything. So when I hold this in front of my sensor, which we're going to get into,
Your sensor's right over here.
yep, oh, let me plug this up real quick.
Okay.
So this is just running off an Uno and the Iris sensor.
All right. So,
So
we
we
don't see anything.
Nothing's going on.
Okay.
This phone is in my target deck. So now, when I set this in place,
Oh, the camera just came on.
yeah. So,
Oh, that's freaky.
so I'm able to target off this individual phone. It trips a relay, turns a camera on, so I can now see who would be holding the phone, who's
Right.
there, what's going on. Is there a team here hunting the equipment that I've planted? Anything you can do with a relay, you can trigger and do with this. And we do it all through an Arduino Uno.
Okay, so work me through how the Arduino script works and how everything is set up to run through this script.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about how this got started and some of the
Okay.
setups. When I was talking with Darren earlier, I was talking about some of the ability to use a logic analyzer.
Right, yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do now is If I turn a logic analyzer on, and I just use this little IR signal here.
And that's plugged into the Arduino.
Yep, and that's just a receiver.
Okay.
I'm just going to take my regular phone. Okay, this is an S7, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a capture. And,
Okay, so you hold that over the sensor.
yep.
Whoa!
And what it does is...
That's extremely busy.
Yes, it is. But we can actually get in there a little bit more
Okay.
and see what's going on a little bit more inside here.
Okay, so you're just zooming in there.
Yep. Oh, wait a minute.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa, there's some serious detail there.
There's quite a bit going on here.
Okay.
Now, that's just one phone.
Alrighty.
So let's go ahead and set up, and we'll do another.
Okay.
Now, when we're setting up,
So that first one was this one, right?
yes, that was a 7.
So now we're trying the Galaxy
Nexus.
Nexus. Okay.
Yep, Nexus 6 P. Now let's look at the signal.
Oh, it's different.
When I was saying that I could visually look at these, absolutely I can visually look at these and tell the difference.
That is so cool.
Now let's look at just the individual. Remember before we had what, about, I believe it was 4 peaks?
Yeah. This one just has one.
Just one.
Huh. That's so weird.
Now, in doing so, you'll find that some of them may switch out a little bit more,
Right.
but for the most part, you're going to be able to figure out which phone they're using just because of some of this. Now,
Right.
inside of the individual phones themselves,
Ooh. So there you have 3 different peaks on the bottom.
and here you have 2 instead of 1.
Right.
Now, the thing that we start looking at is this spacing in between here.
Oh.
How long did it take in between here? Okay.
And those numbers up at the top give you the exact measurement?
Yes, so
Okay.
you're able to measure, okay, how long was it from signal to signal,
Right.
and how wide was the signal itself.
Okay.
So you can start taking all those into account and be able to start getting some really interesting numbers. So that's how we first started looking at this. And I can look at just the picture of this and be able to tell you different phones just from the different pictures they give.
Oh, I'm sure you're pretty used to looking at them by now.
Apples are super fast,
That's awesome.
like super crazy fast.
Okay, so how does this all play into the Arduino?
Well, so the Arduino, Tim Kirster helped me set this up.
Okay.
Great guy. Again, him and Craig both very patient. And what we did is we started looking at the Arduino itself
Okay.
and what would work that was simple, that was easy, that was cheap.
Okay.
And that's what we did. We found something simple, easy, and cheap.
Ah.
And
You're
wrote-
just using the Arduino IDE.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So Tim said, we should probably set up 2 modes so that this can also learn. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, totally.
So that's one of the things we did with this.
Okay.
Now, when we look at this, what we'll be able to see, the Arduino code is set up so that if it sees infrared, the LED on board the Uno will actually light up and let you know, hey, you're receiving some signal. So
Very
it's kind
cool.
of okay, all right, yep, it looks like it works.
So that's the little orange one that was lighting
Yep.
up? Okay,
just
got it.
The real
Yeah.
small onboard LED.
Awesome. Okay.
And that's just an alert to let you know, okay, hey, stuff seems to be working.
Right.
I have signal, I don't.
Visual alert.
It also helps you walk around and find stuff.
Oh, totally.
Now, inside the code itself, what we're going to look at, real simple. As you come through, the biggest thing that you want to look at is this area down here. What this does is you put
Look, I found
phones.
it.
Yeah, you put phones inside your target deck.
Okay.
You figure out what they are, and then these numbers, these are what we're actually getting fed out.
Oh.
So when we run this in a minute in learn mode, we'll put a phone in front of it and you'll see what the pace of that phone is, and with that, you're going to be able to feed it into here and now put a phone just based off this into your target deck.
Right.
We're looking into a lot more things than just this, but this is just basically figuring out the spacing from the time between each flash.
So basically, as you're building this out, you are your code is learning different phones. As long as you get new phones continually, your code is continually learning different codes.
Yeah, and we manually put these in. I'll show you how we do it. But yeah, I'm like, hey, I want to look at this phone or this model of phone.
Well, now I kind of want to let you use my Pixel just to have a new one in there.
So
that's cool.
as we look at this, we realize, oh, this is some pretty neat stuff we can do.
Yeah, it's very neat.
So we just go ahead and we open up Serial.
Okay.
And
Yay,
hey,
Serial.
it's looking for 7 phones.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see. Now, I'm
So
not using
7 different ones in
I'm
your
not using
library.
Iris yet. I'm still just using that network extender that I had.
Right.
So I can look and see. Now, this doesn't have as good a range, so you actually have to be a little bit closer. So we're not seeing it. So it's like, okay, well, what's wrong and why aren't we seeing it? Well, let's go to Learn mode.
Okay.
All I'm going to do to go to Learn mode, I put this in pin 2.
Okay.
And if you want to flash to the screen. Okay.
So it's pin 2 to COM.
Just ground it out.
Oh, ground. Okay.
Yep. So if you ground it out, see if I can go to Learn mode. There we go.
Oh, there it goes.
So now we're in Learn mode.
Whoa.
And we can see with this, Learn mode's working pretty well now,
Yeah.
but we're not getting as consistent as we will with Iris.
Right.
And part of that could be, there we go. So as it,
So
There
Learn
we
mode
go.
is giving you a count out of what you were seeing in those peaks and valleys, right?
yes.
It's pretty much the same thing, just in a different kind of format.
Yeah, you just put it into a
Cool.
time. Now, you'll see that it's fairly consistent though.
Yeah.
15.
15, 5, and then a couple of extra digits.
So now,
Whoa. So this is a different phone.
this is an S7.
Dang. That one's going a lot faster.
Yeah.
So that one's only 4 digits.
And where you see
starting at
larger
4.
numbers pop up occasionally, like now that I try to do it, it probably won't. But what's happening is it actually will get like a double, like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a double count.
Whoa.
But we can see here that, 4839, 4838,
Yeah.
4851. Now what we can do is we can
so
develop numbers for our target deck.
Ooh. Okay.
So we come back over, and I know that up here are numbers that I was looking at for my target deck. So what I want to look at is this. I want 15.5, and we're going to go fairly wide with this.
Okay.
So let's go 15.5, 80.
All right.
And that should be wide enough. Now, once you've had the phone for phones that you target a little bit better, you can try to narrow it down. But I think I'm just, for demo purposes, just going to go a little bit larger.
Okay.
Now it's as simple as upload.
Upload that up to your Arduino.
It's uploading to the Arduino now.
And it's already plugged into the computer, so nothing to do there.
Nothing to do there. All right, now it's already back in the mode to look for phones.
Okay.
So now, and again, our range is a little bit shorter
Yeah.
for this. So now,
Oh, found NetHunt. What? And you're running NetHunter on that phone?
yep, and I've labeled this as NetHunt, so that's why it does it. But I have a spectrum that any other phones that are doing this would fall within that. Now this category is pretty wide, not as narrowed down as I'd want to.
Yeah.
And the protocol we have right now, we've had pretty good success with 20 phones that were all done the same. We know that there still will be some crossover for the same phones because
Right.
we're only using one category. You saw how many spaces there were in between there.
Yes.
And when we look at terminal and we go into learn mode, one of the other things we can look at with hierarchy would be, okay, I want to use an average of 15.570 to, and this is a 15.590.
Okay.
And whenever I get 20 packets inside that, it'll say it has it. But the other thing we want to start adding is, okay, where the average number is this, and you have 2 numbers above it, followed by 1 number below it, that gives you, using
Got it.
hierarchy, a whole nother avenue to do, which we haven't been able to incorporate into the script, but that's one of the next levels of being able to push through and be able to add some of those things to it, because that's really where we're going with this, is
see.
trying to get in and see what we can do.
So by adding in that 20 at the end, you're allowing yourself a little bit of leeway just in case there's some oddities in the IR sensors code.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
So with that,
Yep, Woody.
oh, there we go.
So what does that mean? What is Yep, Woody?
That's my phone.
That's your phone. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so I've set mine up so that when I put it in here, it will go ahead and it will find it when, here we go. When I start, yep,
There it
Yep, Woody,
goes.
there it goes.
And it's so fast, it gets in almost instantaneously.
But the range wasn't great using this.
Right. It wasn't. That's going to be a little off-putting if somebody tries to put all this together and they have to
Yeah.
hold it so close.
But
And it
you-
won't help you out on the field too if you're on a pen test.
Exactly. But you notice with the example I gave, I get pretty good range.
Yeah.
We
so
get about
let's move into that.
We get about 15 feet of range with Iris.
Wow.
So Iris is a great little tool.
Okay.
It was designed by Craig Hefner.
Okay.
Now,
Hardware genius.
yes, absolute hardware genius. It's open source. It's available. Anyone can have them printed off.
Okay.
And what's really nice about this is he set this up so that it has comparators in it.
Ooh.
So this board will push everything up to a digital signal. So with analog, it may not reach a threshold to be able to reach that count.
Right.
There's pros and cons to being able to use that. You can read analog off this by making some modifications that Craig has put in.
Yeah.
But the standard way it comes with just the pin out, you're going to get digital. In fact, I'll hook this up to the Logic Analyzer. You'll be able to see it.
Okay.
Because the other nice thing about Iris is it's completely self-powered.
Oh, that's cool. So how are you powering it? Just off a battery?
Coin cell.
What?
Yes.
Like a little watch? Well,
Yep.
bigger than a watch battery, obviously, but
2032.
wow.
Small coin cell.
You
Now,
can find them everywhere. Great.
Craig set this up so that it will actually run for over 5 days off this.
Whoa.
So
That's awesome.
while this is hooked up, you have the ability to hook this into the Logic Analyzer, much like
Okay.
we did before. Or what we do is we actually hook this directly up to the board. And when we hook this directly to the board, that's what gives us the ability to do some really, really neat things. And that's
Okay.
what we've been working on and doing.
Oh, this
That's
is so cool.
That's what happens inside this little box.
Okay.
We just switch it up a little bit and change it.
So in that box, I see you have an Arduino as well.
Yes, so inside the box I have an Arduino. I have a relay set up to a board that shares a common ground, and I have a 1.2 watt, 5.8 gig video transmitter.
And the video transmitter is what is outputting the video signal to here.
Yep.
Very, very similar to FPV drone piloting, if you've ever seen that, which I know you have if you saw our drone series.
Very much so. In fact, that's exactly what we kind of copied it after.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. The board itself, super easy to use. You have a negative and you have a positive. So you just hook up to the,
Oh, easy.
yeah, you hook up to the negative,
Okay.
and you hook up to the positive.
And then you plug those into your Arduino?
Yep, then we're just going to plug these into the Arduino.
Okay.
So, and we have it's ground and
So which pins do you put those into?
I believe it's 13 and 8.
Okay.
Now that I actually have these taken off, I got to double
Oh
check
yeah,
it again.
we have a
12.
turkey ready to go in the oven, so we can always check it.
So, I just need to make sure that I have my lines hooked up right. 8, oh. And, whoop, come on.
Oh, the light went on.
And, there we go.
It's working.
It looks like it is. There we go. So now if we push this over, Net Hunter.
Ah,
Now, interesting enough, this one actually works better when you have a little bit of distance to it.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you set them up. Yep.
Oh, there it goes.
Yep.
It got it.
So, and my phone was in there as well. So hopefully
yeah.
we're still able to get mine, which would be nice.
Oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, there was some directionality with this just because of the directional filter I had on here, I think, which was causing a little bit of flux. But
so it is rather directional. It seems like your screen does have to be facing it.
It's directional because of some of the things that I've put in place for it. There we go. Now it's popping up. There's NetHunter again.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so that's one of the big things. I put this plastic case on there to make it intentionally directional, and that's what we've been doing.
That's
because
a little
we want to
3D
make
print, isn't it?
It is. So
Nice.
I've got a nice little printer that'll do nylon, carbon fiber, and Kevlar.
That's very cool.
So, yep. So there we go, and you're able to just work with it and
That's awesome.
play and make them work. So
Wow.
this is Iris. Now it's nice and small.
Yes.
Where it gets
very
really
small.
fun. And if you want to start doing the research of
man.
how this stuff
It just
looks,
keeps getting better.
again, we're using just a small fraction of what can be used to target these.
Right.
So let's go ahead and go back to this. This is our logic analyzer.
Okay.
This is going to give us a much cleaner catch of what's actually going on. Now, Iris pushes everything up to the digital level. Okay,
Not analog.
not analog. Although analog has some
So
great
how is this-
benefits.
How's it going to work with the pitches and everything, the wavelengths?
It'll still work the same. It's just both sides will work up with this. In fact, when you use the ones that have 3 pins on them,
Yeah.
a lot of times those will actually inside of them have it's very similar to a comparator that will force it to the digital side anyway. If you're using one that only has 2 legs, you'll be able to get a better read and be able to get the analog side.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, got that hooked up. You've got your sensor,
Okay.
and then there we go. Take this.
Okay. So we got it on the phone.
Yep, got it looking at the phone. Now, where it gets really interesting is some of these phones, the screens don't even have to be on for you to actually pull the stuff off the screen. So
So the IR, the sensor, the proximity sensor is on all the time.
on a lot of the Nexuses, yes,
Oh,
because
that's
in your
creepy.
and the newer phones, because it wants to know in your pocket when should it turn the time on, everything else. So
Right.
now, when we get inside here,
Oh, dude.
yep. So you can see the distance
Oh, that is awesome.
between, and you can start playing with it a little bit and see what you can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some serious fingerprinting. That's so creepy.
And again, we're just getting into some of the stuff that we can do with this.
Oh, yeah. You know, I can imagine that you'd be able to do your own hacks with this. You'd be able to, like, you know, stick in your own data in between the sender and the receiver.
That's what we're hoping. Now, there's some timing things there that you have to get right because it knows when
Right.
it sent it, and you are dealing with light.
Yes.
But saturation we know works. We've worked where if you can simulate it close enough, we have been able to saturate and make some things happen with other IR devices.
That's so freaky.
But one of the things I'd love some of the Android guys out there to do,
Yeah.
I'm just starting to try to learn Android, so I'll be hobbling along for a little while. But if any of you want to do this, it'd be awesome, is the IR Blaster typically doesn't require a lot of permissions.
Oh.
So if you wrote an app that took over the IR Blaster and then
Yeah.
let's say you had a TV that received IR signals and
Yeah.
you could now, whenever they're around that TV without them realizing it, TV be gone.
Yeah.
Or Smart TV takes them to a website and makes them download a hook. I don't know, just a couple things that I would like to see
Oh,
happen
that's
from some Android
awesome.
developers.
So cool.
Let's start forcing some changes.
Yes, absolutely. I think that you've found a vulnerability in Android devices and iPhones as well.
Apple,
that-
absolutely.
That needs to be fixed, especially if you can, you know, put in your own data and do man-in-the-middle attacks, because I think that's an entirely possible.
I think that's the next step, and that's what I'm really hoping to see people do.
This
because
is so cool.
again, visually, you can tell the operating systems alone.
Yeah, that's freaky in itself. So where can people find out more about this? Because I want to find out more. I want to do my own build.
So we're going to be, when you release this episode, we'll have a GitHub page that they can go to.
We'll put that in the show notes for you
Yep.
guys.
We'll also have Craig Hefner's site so that you can come and see, I believe it's Analog Zoo. You can go on there and you can see where to actually get the board and build it
Oh,
yourself.
sweet. Awesome.
If I'm at a con, I usually have a couple extra boards with me. Please feel
Okay.
free to approach me. If I have one, I'll let you have it. And
Very cool.
You don't have to wait for the
And
board.
it's open source, right?
It's open source.
Cool.
You can start playing with some of this. The little receiver that you get for your Raspberry Pi to make your home entertainment center,
Yeah.
you can do it all off this.
That's so great. I love
It's
it.
not as good, you don't get the range. Now, one thing, if you note the shape of this,
Yeah.
that's because I 3D printed this set up so that you could put it into a rifle scope. And
I was going to say, it looks like a scope.
I have heavily extended the range by hooking this to magnification.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, that is
it's
cool.
been a fun project, and I think the best part about this project is that I went to some of the forums and ran
Yeah.
into some of the great people who were out there to remind me that I don't know anything. But I also had some amazing people in the community who were so helpful, who were incredible individuals. Tim Kerster and Craig Hefner especially.
Awesome.
Just huge. And then since Mike and Dominique have been playing with this project, they've been so helpful with letting me see what they've been doing, and I've released everything I have to them as well. And I just want to see more people really come together. I'd love to see an
absolutely.
IR collection platform, kind of like Wiggle,
Oh,
where, hey, I received this
Yeah.
at night or during the day, and this is what it was. This is this model phone.
I love it. Yeah.
And let's create kind of like the Signal database. Light is wireless too.
Oh, I love it. Well,
In
thank
fact,
you
I'm going to
so
see if that's
much.
available for GitHub. Hopefully we can use that.
This was awesome, Woody. I loved it.
Thank you.
And it inspires me to learn a lot more about IRs and proximity sensors, because that is some freaky stuff. Where can people find you on the internets too?
So TB69RR on Twitter
Okay.
is probably the easiest.
Cool.
And also that same TB69RR@gmail.com.
Sweet.
And that's probably the best way to try to get a hold of me. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.
Well, that just about wraps up this week's episode of Hack 5. But before we get going, I wanted to let you know that if you would like to leave us feedback, you can so not only in the comments, but also feedback at hack5.org. Hack5.org being a fantastic place to go and check out all the other shows on the network, including ThreatWire and
ThreatWire, which just started up a video RSS. I'm setting it up. Well,
Nice.
I was setting it up last week, so it should be online by now.
Nice.
So you can subscribe over on your favorite subscription RSS podcast feed app things.
Yeah, congrats on that. You're doing a
Thank
great job
you.
with that show. She's also killing it over on Tech Thing with Patrick Norton, and then with Mubix is just with Metasploit Minute. There's so much fun stuff. HAK5.org. It's also where you'll find the links to the social networks if you want to get in with our Snapchats or Instagrams. There's that. Do we have a gift from the fan?
We do! Stickers.
I love
So
when we get
we got
stickers.
stickers from the UK, from Dave. He says, a little while ago I found Hack 5 on YouTube, quickly ended up treating myself to some useful items from the Hack store. It's Hack Shop, Dave. It's Hack Shop. So I'm writing, as I had the enclosed stickers made up as a joke gift. There was, of course, a minimum order level, so I had a few left over. I wondered if they would be any use to you, possibly just to make sure visitors cannot say they were not aware that their tech may be subject to involuntary backups.
Warning, high
Keep
risk
up the good
hacking
work
area.
and Merry Christmas.
I love it.
These are so great.
That is a brilliant sticker. That is going right.
High risk hacking area. I need to
Right
put that
here.
right up above my work table
Yeah.
where I have all my Arduinos and all that stuff set up.
That's nice.
I think that's perfect. Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much, Dave. We love
Appreciate
it
it.
when you guys send stickers, and you can send those over to the address listed on our link below.
There we go. Okay, hey, with all that, it's been a really exciting and fun episode. We've got all sorts of cool new stuff at the Hack Shop, hakshop.com. Check it out. That's where you can support us directly. And we will be back next week with some really cool Android apps.
Yes.
Until then, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
Trust your technolist.